Okay, I want to start off by giving all praise and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakah, Quadash, Barakatah. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the Akim around the four corners of the earth, pushing the truth with faith and sincerity. Um, I'm going to be, this is Brother Yawasop. Um, I'm going to be continuing in that lesson about the UFOs in the Bible. I'm reading from a book called The Greatest Deception by a man named Patrick Cook. Um, like I said, I was going to get, because Ezekiel is a book that really speaks about the chariots of Israel, or what the white man deems the UFOs. Um, I'm going to I hope that ain't the brother hitting me now, because I just told him I was trying to do my lesson, but I was supposed to be hooking up with one of the Akim to do another lesson. So um, I'm going to do like the first 10 minutes starting off where I left off at, or continuing where I left off at, and then I'll check. And I may have to finish this at another time, but I already got started, so let's jump right in. Um, I'm going to go back, continuing in the book. I stopped at page 9. The next um, title or subtitle is Heaven is the Sky. I know, before I start, I know the Apostle Tahar was saying that, the Spirit was on the chariots of Israel. Now it's, you know, um, brethren have been finding all these articles about the chip, the RFID chip, or, the mark of the beast. Uh, I haven't came across anything like that yet. So, if the Spirit's willing, maybe I will. But right now I'm going to continue with the chariots of Israel. So, beginning, heaven is the sky. All these clouds, whirlwinds, pillars, vessels, chariots, and pavilions are seen hovering in, coming down from, or rising into heaven. The thunders, trumpets, and voices that are heard from heaven. All the men who leave the ground, and all the angels in metallic, glowing beings that come down to the ground, do so either to or from heaven. And that's amazing, because what's that in the book of I think it's like Second Maccabees. It talks about how when the angels had that encounter, I don't recall the man's name, but they said that they was gleaming in gold. So maybe I should get that for edification. I don't want to really, you know, um, jump around in scripture, because I didn't really have any scriptures written out. I mean, this is all through the Spirit. Um, Heliodorus, right? Um, yeah, it was the encounters about Heliodorus, and let's get the things committed. Here we go, right here. See, that's the Spirit. It's the book of Second Maccabees, chapter 3. Chapter 3. I'm gonna get straight to the point, because, like I said, I'm just edifying when it said beings of gold. It talks about um, Second Maccabees chapter 3. I'm gonna start at 24. Now, as he was there present, Salakia. Now, as he was there present himself with his guard about the treasury, the Lord Yahweh by Yashem Yahweh Shai, oh Salakia, the Lord of spirits and the Prince of all power, caused a great apparition, so that all that presumed to come in with him were astonished at the power of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, and fainted, and were sore afraid. Verse 25, for there appeared unto them an horse with a terrible rider upon it, or Salaki, upon him, and adorned with a very fair covering, and he ran fiercely and smote at Heliodorus with his forefeet, and it seemed that he sat upon the horse had complete harness of gold. So when they said, from when he was speaking about, bright beings, glowing beings that come down to the ground, do so either to or from heaven. All the lightning, streams of fire, brimstone, and other destructive things mentioned have their origin in heaven. Even wars are fought in heaven. Since all these things are seen in relationship to heaven, the way the word heaven is used is the key to understanding these phenomena and must be explained. The word heaven is used over 500 times in the Bible. In the Old Testament, heaven is translated almost exclusively from two different words. Now, I haven't checked into this, but it says the Hebrew word Shemayim, which is defined as the sky, the place where the clouds and stars are, or Shemayin, the Aramaic word of the same definition. In the Old Testament, heaven is translated from other words only 5 times on the following verses. And it's trying to use precepts. It says Psalm 68 and 4. It is translated from the Hebrew word Araba, the desert. Psalm 77 and 18. The word is Gal, Gal, Hebrew for wheel or whirlwind. Psalms 89 and 6 and 89 and 37 is translated from the word Shak, Hebrew for powder or thin vapor. Isaiah 5 and 30. Heaven is translated from Aripah. It's spelled Ariyph, Hebrew for the sky. The New Testament defines Salakia, heaven from the Greek word Uranus, Uranus, meaning the sky, in all but 7 instances. Philippians chapter 2, verse 10, Greek, Uranus, above the sky, celestial. Revelations 8 and 13, 14 and 6, 19 and 1, and 11, 14 and 17 from the Greek word mesoranima, meaning mid-sky. I might have to, I'm trying to get to 10 real quick. If it did, I'm going to check this brother's calling me. I hope, he ain't get upset, but I could stop the video after this page. The frequency of the word sky in the Bible must be also looked at in the overall study of the concept. The word sky or skies only appear 11 times in all 66 books. The words for things that normally appear in the sky, such as clouds, stars, whirlwinds, storms, lightnings, birds, rain, hail, and wind, appear over 600 times. Heaven is the word the translators of the King James Bible in the early 1600s purposefully translated to the original words biblical authors used for the physical sky and not some ethereal plane. The King James Bible was translated from King James of England, who lived in a royal castle and was surrounded by royal people who all spoke a royal language. Like I said before, I don't completely agree with that um, because, King James was a Jake. I mean, yeah, and he was in rulership, he was a king, but like I said, he goes on to state, this guy Patrick Cook that wrote this book, that they purposely did this. A very proper form of court English that had different words for some things in the commoner's tongue. You was the raiment is clothing, and sky was heaven. Therefore, in all but the above noted instances, the word heaven should be ready, Salakia, should be read as sky. Heaven is the sky, and sky fits in every instance. Heaven is not the place with the pearly gates or the streets of gold, as the pulpit would have you believe. Now, that's what we agree upon. That is the New Jerusalem, and is described in Revelation. Heaven is not said to be rewarded for paying your tithes or a final destination for certain church members. Now, it sounds like he getting on the track. Like I said, I just didn't agree with him what he was talking about as far as King James purposely doing that. Heaven is where Yahweh flies. And at the end of the day, let me just expound on that. At the end of the day, it was all ultimately set up by the Most High, you know. So when you go into these different Bible translations, they change in like scripture and all that, you know what I mean? So, that's why everybody relies on the King James. Heaven is where Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai flies, the same place the birds fly. Heaven is where Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai lives, because that is where his throne is and his throne flies. If any more proof is needed, just consider the inheritance of the beatitudes. Now that's the spirit, because I was just reading a book about that, and I wanted to ask the Akim about it because, you know, his it's deep, but it was somebody's own observations of it. You know what I mean? That's what you get when you're reading books. The meek shall inherit the earth, not heaven. The heaven of the pulpit is simplistic, human conceptualization, not a biblical based reality. And that's deep because, like I said, it says in the book of Daniel that you know, um, our heaven is going to be on the earth, which will be a condition. You know what I mean? When we're in rulership. So, you know, I would say that's spot on. Um, I'm gonna stop and start at the next page.